Good evening, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you're at. I'm just picking up where I left off yesterday on this stream, where I am looking to finish building a virtual cockpit / mentor / all of my brain dumps and thought conversations with AI and everything in between into a single platform. But as I'm documenting this, as I'm going along, I'm kind of showcasing my workflow, I guess, kind of how I approach things. You get to see me make mistakes live. You'll get to see me kind of brain dump and kind of just, follow along with regards to my philosophy when it comes to putting some of these systems together with the use of AI. And we'll just dive straight into it. I'm a bit tired, so I'm not really sure how long I'm going to stream today. I'll give it my full attention for however long we've got here today. So just to kind of give a recap in terms of where we're at the moment, where we've gotten to. I have... How far back do I actually want to go with this? So I'd initially hit a roadblock on a monitoring tool that I was building. Not so much a roadblock. It was just, again, a hurdle. I had too many things on my plate and other projects were basically taking my attention. I ended up kind of vibing quite a large chunk of an important feature. The agents went a bit crazy, messed up my whole kind of code base. Not on this particular project, it was on a previous project that I was working on. That kind of then forced me to change my approach a little bit and tighten up and kind of add a bit more, add more ring fencing around what the AI agents were able to do. Follow a bit better practice with regards to how I'm handling context, how I'm handling the context windows, how I'm handling governance with regards to Git discipline. And then, so I'm kind of just taking some of those pieces and implementing them into a build. I actually managed to end up fixing that project. And it's something that I will kind of feature in subsequent or following streams. But essentially that's kind of like where we're kind of like the preface. But then with regards to where we're at with this project, it came about off the back of the problem that I've just kind of described to you. I've got ADHD, so I'll kind of try and focus on everything at once and kind of go down every single work stream at 100 miles an hour. And then obviously as soon as you hit a roadblock or something becomes stuck, you jump onto the next thing where you can kind of progress that dopamine and make progress. And obviously if you hit another stumbling block, it just ends up slowing down and grinding down progress, ideation and thinking and everything in between. So what I wanted to do is get all of my thoughts, all of my conversation, all of my notes that I have with the various LLMs that I use. So whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Claude, and then export them. So I've exported local copies or local deposits of both. This isn't obviously the full works in their entirety. This is just a sample size, so a sample of 30 nodes, conversations that I've had, Claude. And then what I eventually want to do is create a neural network here, then add a layer in terms of how I actually want to prioritize my work, prioritize my ideas, connect and kind of find patterns and build a basically a data model around my ideation, my thinking patterns, and help me kind of reprioritize things and better ship ideas, group things, yesterday we added like a recency layer. So you'll see that some of these nodes are more saturated than others. That's based on the age of the actual thought or conversation, the size of them and the size of the cluster. Just as, again, we added weighting to this yesterday based off of how many messages are contained or how many links that particular node has. That then obviously increases the size of it and whatnot. So we were kind of building up all of these layers yesterday just on this small sample size and kind of removing and flushing out some of the bugs that were found along the way as well. And then that's kind of where we ended the stream yesterday. And so in today's kind of sprint of work, there are a few things that I want to implement, one of which is the Git branch discipline, because again, I've been heavily involved in the code base and kind of making the decisions and adding all of the modules one by one, really hand holding my Claude 4.8 agents with regards to the planning. And that's kind of the approach that I'm taking with this, really rigorous planning before each and every single build. And then from there, we create a spec and a plan that we then kind of issue to the agent and build in vertical slices. We do all of the implementation with regards to the context window sizing. So I've built skills for handoff. So as soon as the context windows, I'll show you that now. As soon as the context window gets to 140k token, it automatically now can call back and reference and check its own context window. So it's not something I'm constantly having to kind of keep an eye on. It knows, and I've set a threshold for 135k tokens. As soon as it gets there, it kind of starts to trigger and warn, and then it will contextualize, put all of that into a temporary folder on my C drive rather than the actual project folder that I'm working on. So again, it's not bloating the context window that I'm working within. And then from there, it's I can start a new session. It'll pick up where I left off from that temporary folder, and then I can continue obviously working with a wider context window essentially. And I'm using the max plan for Claude. So I've got 1 million tokens available in any one session, but I only utilize 160 at a push, 180 in some cases if kind of it triggers in the middle of planning or anything that I want to just wrap up and finish. I will sacrifice those extra 20k tokens just to get a task done, and then it enforce the handoff. And then before the stream today, I've actually added and refined my grill me skill, which I'll be able to show you in a second as well. And with that one, all I've done is add a layer of I've integrated it with Perplexity. So again, I've got a Perplexity Pro account, so I wanted to add the Perplexity call up to the actual tool itself, so that when it is going through that peer review with me and kind of ideating and how we want to approach certain tasks within a work package, any questions that it's asking me, I've enforced it to actually use Perplexity to go off and do the research in terms of best approaches, anything that's kind of common failures with the approach that we're about to try, so that it's already referenced that research before it comes to me with the options in terms of, you know, which direction we're going to go on. So I've baked that into my my grill me tool, and then I've also my grill me skill, and then yesterday at the end of the stream, or close to the end of the stream yesterday, we built a skill for what's it called? What did I call it now? Like forward planning. I've forgotten the name. Literally, we'll get to it obviously when I call the tool itself. But we added a tool yesterday, look ahead. That's it. So we added a skill yesterday for looking ahead. So while an agent or a couple of agents are working on a particular slice of work, I can trigger a new session and call my skill for looking ahead. which will start looking at all of the connectors that are available on the current slice. And all that means is, you know, if I've got a slice now that I'm using that's going off to let's say go to the petrol station and fill up the car and then come back, and that's the task that I've assigned a particular agent. While it's building that operation of getting the car to the petrol station and bringing it back, this look ahead tool will look at every single point that we can connect to once that task that the current agent's working on is completed. So for example, on the way back with the car, we could stop off and do the grocery shopping. We could park the car and get it washed. So it's looking at all of the other additional tasks now that we can add to that completion of what going off and taking the car to the petrol station and bringing it back. What can we build from that? But again, there's strictness to it because we still want to link it to the original spec document and the plan that we're building, so that it's not kind of going off and planning and proposing slices of work that are not on brand for the project that we're working on. So there's a fitment check, but again, I also implemented or wrapped in the Perplexity tool to that as well, so it can again future plan, so that it makes that planning phase a bit quicker for me, but we're still doing the deep dives using Perplexity. So that's the second thing that I've added in between the streams. And then just to kind of wrap up, and then on today's focus, what I want to work on is actually the Obsidian overview. So I'll show you quickly what it's like at the moment. So when I trigger this, I don't want it to open in this format in terms of a flat note. I actually wanted to be able to navigate and drill down from this window, just so that the navigation stays in this format as much as possible, so that I'm not having to kind of dig through all of these kind of wiki link type format screens. Again, I want to be able to see things quite visually. We also wanted to add the next slices and things like that, so I can see a visual representation of what my user prompts were against what the agent or the AI's messages are. And I want that to be kind of visually represented and something that I can kind of filter and switch off. And that's kind of like the next few slices of work. I want to work through that so that we can then ramp this all the way up and import all of the conversations, and then see what that looks like on the map, clean up any errors, and then also I'm fixing the Git branch governance as well, because I've noticed a couple of times we're working outside of a branch, and it's just working within the repo tree, which is not best practice. It's not what I want to do. I want to make sure that every single repository or every single slice that we're working on is actually its own individual branch, and that there's governance and kind of more wrapping around the slice names for the branches. So then if I commit something back to the master branch, we're still able to keep that as an keep that branch in the repo, so I can always go back to it, change a feature, and kind of do deeper planning and testing without losing the progress or kind of overlapping. So I want to make that a bit more robust, again, because leaving the agents to do their thing and kind of trusting them with that. There are several projects where I've gone back and the repo's all over the place. There's a ton of uncommitted files and things like that, and then it ends up creating a mess that's awful to unpick. Number one, it adds more confusion to the agents with regards to context. And yeah, it's just better practice not to do it that way. So those are the kind of main points that I want to focus on today. So I've got some of these things already open in Cursor in the background. There are already work streams that are open and live. So I'm just going to just dive straight in, and we can get started. We can get started with those pretty much straight away. So on the screen now, I'm going to just, all I've got on the left here is a peer review, not a peer review window. What is this? Yeah, sorry, I've got a peer review window on the left. I've got a plan in front of me for the current kind of grilled version of what the work package for slice 5 will entail. And then on the right, I've got my peer reviewing window with Codex. So on the left, I'm using Claude for pretty much all of the builds, and then I'm peer reviewing with a Codex agent on the right hand side, or several Codex agents on the right hand side, and just kind of just splitting between all of the max plans that I've kind of subscribed to, and not really using Cursor for anything apart from just tab completions and it's just kind of the harness that I'm building all of this in. But yeah, so I won't waffle on too much. I was like just trying to get straight into it. There will be moments where I go quiet and just trying to focus and whatnot, but there's some lo-fi cow playing, so okay, cool. So the first thing that I need to lock in is this git governance. So I just want to feed it's the first thing that I actually want to give back to. The annoying thing is I may have already done this. It's because I started this a couple of hours ago. I was just like, I wasn't in the mood to start streaming yet, and then I had to go downstairs and do a couple of things. So it might take me a second just to kind of pick up where I was at, and from there be able to. Okay, cool. So all right, cool. So I'm just gonna feed. I'm gonna feed my agent that I was planning with the peer review, also in the peer review and gap analysis from the Codex agent, just to let it know. Here's the feedback. From peer review. What's this? So I've let that know, and it can do its thing. It's going to now review, benchmark that. Now here, had I fed this? This feels off. Right, so my recommendation is off. Okay, so the other thing that I was building, obviously I've just mentioned that with regards to Obsidian. Yeah, I wanted to obviously change the way that I was navigating through this, and I've ended up doing I ended up creating so we ended up going down this route, which is what what we're looking at, so that I can actually jump from node to node rather than jumping out of the node system and then into like a flat node. I wanted all the sub nodes to actually be connected, and this is kind of a plugin that we've installed on top of it called Juggle, and this is now what I'm adjusting, and I want to tweak just to kind of get slightly better fitment of it, so that it works slightly better with this format, so that I'm not having to click in here and then end up on this navigation. It's too disjointed. I want it to be a lot more kind of within this node infrastructure to be able to do the drill down, and for that to behave slightly differently. So that's what this slice is kind of focused at. But before we kind of get into all of that, I want to be able to I want to first be able to fix some of these things that we've got, or some of these channels that we've got already going. So let me just giving this access to still got this on the screen. So yeah, I'm just giving this access that it needs. No, I don't want to accept this plan just yet, because I still want to peer review this and then give it feedback. So I'm just still waiting for that to complete. This. So again, do you want me to allow? Yes. Read all of the external slices. So a lot of these changes that are being made here are going to end up changing the settings .json, because we want it to be wired slightly differently, especially where the branches are concerned. I want to really enforce that strictness on what happens once a branch is closed, what happens in between branches as well, and then yeah, just better ring fencing, just better ring fencing overall. Something here. Also, right, so this is still obviously going through the still going through the peer review process, and I'll be able to hand that off to the agent that's waiting for it. Cool. And then now the branch governance fix that we're implementing is obviously now we've got the feedback on it now as well. So we've got a couple of decisions to make here. So this is going to affect my Git hooks. So the native Git hook layer, the pre-commit, the pre-merge commit blocks my manual terminal IDE commits on the master, not just Claude, include it now. So yes, install both layers now, build it and leave it uninstalled. So I want to implement all of this now because this is all best practice that we're putting in. I don't want to leave anything ambiguous. So between slices on the master, after ship, before the next start, housekeeping handoff commits would need a slice branch override. Is that okay? So override environment, except that any direct commit on the master requires slice branch override. Keep the master clean. Merges only. This makes the master direct and deliberate at. Yeah. So I've already set up ring fencing for this when we're at the planning stage anyway. So that anything that's being committed to the master branch, we're still keeping that branch open so that I can still go back to it, iterate and work on that particular branch without affecting anything in the master. But then there's always a reference that we can call back and kind of go and kind of remove those commits because they're named by slice as well. And that's the really good thing about kind of going at it in this manner, because everything is extremely modular and I've built it for swappability, so that if I do make a commit somewhere that I shouldn't, or later on I want to change the feature or change the behavior of a particular feature, I can swap that out quite easily. Do I want to accept this plan? Yes. Yeah. Cool. So that's the branch commit. So it's going to now write up the plan. It's all approved. And it started obviously implementing those. So the protection gate, which is where I kind of arm all of the stage gates or the slice gates. And now obviously it's going to go through all of these iterations. It's going to write the engine for the hooks, for the guardrails. It's going to create all of the pre-commit and the pre-merge logic that we've built and instructed it to do. It's going to wire everything across, and then add the branch governance section to the Claude.md, which governs everything else within how we kind of like want things to behave when we're within this particular project. But it's putting it in the Claude.md so that it's actually now global. I can use it in any project that I start and commit after this. And that's kind of a lot of these tools and skills that I'm building. You're seeing that there are some that are, let's say for example, they're project specific. So I end up putting them within the project folder, but anything that I want to kind of like repurpose and reuse, I end up putting them in the global folder, so I can call on them. But then the kind of caveat to this, or something that you need to be aware of, is sometimes that you try and call certain hooks, you try and call certain skills, and your agent, whether it's Claude or whether it's a GPT or Codex agent, whatever, will end up kind of getting fuzzy because it's looking for it in a specific folder. So let's say it's looking for it within the project folder, but you've committed it to the global folder. It's not going to be able to find it, and vice versa if it's kind of gotten into a habit, or you've set a rule somewhere else to say that all the skills are going to live in the global folder. and then you commit a skill to the local project folder within the repo, you're gonna have a hard time, and you're gonna have to go back and forth. And we saw that on the stream yesterday. I was trying to call a skill that I've built and used so many times for diagnosis, and I ended up having to literally paste the path in, just for it to be able to find it. Cool. So yep, on it to write to that. That's fine. So while this is doing this, I want to quickly check on the cool. So I want to just quickly check on the slice 5, and then just see where we're at with this. So finding hi is not actually ready for freezes written authority and still needs sensors message link to every blah blah blah. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna quickly give it this because it's trying to commit this plan. So again, I'm just feeding in the peer review and gap analysis. Thing quickly. Click at this. So this is done. So now we've given it the feedback, and the responses. Yep, the external review is fully convergent with what we've already found and banked, and surfaces 0 new gaps, which is reassuring. The independent pass and blah blah blah. So the high click kills edges explosion slash shrink blah, blah. So everything's banked in the plan file, and external fully agrees. The remaining blocker is rewriting the authority docs and steering plan plus handoff plus future spec. Whoa, hang on. So we need to hand this off. So this is actually a good thing to kind of showcase live as well. So you can see here, I'm just going to zoom in so that you can see this line here. So 2 row constraint, sorry, yeah. You did higher, so I won't force it. So in the last pass, and I actually probably want to change this so it's a bit more prominent and in my face a bit, and maybe enforce it so that it doesn't breach. But this is what I was talking about. So the skill that I built a couple of days ago for handoff, is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So obviously it suggests we're still peer reviewing, we're still in plan mode and whatnot, but yeah, so we're still in plan mode and whatnot, but it's still very conscious of the kind of like guardrails that I've put in place with regards to the context window. And you know, as I said, I've got 1 million tokens in every session to go up to, but I only want to use 160k of them. So it's flagged that, you know, it's reminded me a couple of times, and it's telling me that now the context window is at 356k, which is genuinely risky. I need your call on how to proceed. So the first thing that I actually want to do is to stop here. So in fact, I'll just tell it explicitly because it might not do what I want it to do. Let me see. So let's trigger handoff. Right. So what this is going to do is here. It's gonna contextualize everything, compact everything down, save it. No, so I still want to actually keep planning, but everything will be saved to, what are we doing? Okay, let me come out of, I'm gonna come out of plan mode. So all I'm doing here is hitting shift and tab to come out of plan mode, and then I will tell it to trigger handoff. Just saying off. Cool. So then now this is going to compact all of this context down, store it in my temporary folder on my PC, and then we will create a new session, and then we'll be able to pick up where we left off on this. And with regards to where we want to pick up from is just to get a decision on this, because the changes that we're making to how these nodes are behaving now, or the changes that I want to make to how these nodes the changes that I want to make to how these nodes are behaving is going to be a massive change, or quite a substantial change to how I had mapped them out to behave in the plan document as well as the spec documents, and this is what it was warning me about. So it was flagging that this change, or this next slice of work, is quite a big divergence from the initial plan that we had, which is locked. So in order for us to kind of proceed, you're gonna have to accept the risk of us going back and changing the plan, which I kind of said I don't want to do, and this is why I want to push back on it. I don't want to change a plan in order to work around an issue. It's always better to fix an issue rather than fix the plan, because you're essentially just moving the goalpost in order to kind of work around a problem. So that's kind of what I want to ideate with. And then now that we've actually built in the new skill in terms of adding perplexity to our planning and perplexity to our grill me tool, and I've linked all of that up with the right account, so I'm not even having to use an API or any API calls for perplexity. That's triggered. I've linked it to a browser so that it's one session. Everything's, I don't have to log in every single time that I'm calling the tool or using it between the two different skills. I do actually need to restart this whole I need to restart Cursor for that to take effect, because I haven't actually done that yet since building the tool. So since I keep using the word tool, since building the skill, I haven't actually restarted Cursor. So I need to restart Cursor and then trigger all of the hooks to start up, and then we'll be able to actually see that in action, and then hopefully that gives us slightly more insight, because I don't want to have to change the plan, because again, that's kind of going going against the kind of the principles that I'd set for myself. I want to try and tackle the problems with real solutions rather than changing the plan or the spec in order to kind of fit and work around something, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's see how we get on. So I'm just gonna quickly flick, and all I'm doing in the background is just restarting Cursor, just so that we've got all of the tools that we were waiting to fire up and are waiting for us to kind of like register from a session restart to boot up, and then we can use them. In fact, before I do that, let me finish the work on the branch commit. This agent's obviously working away at tweaking this this logic for the branch governance that we fixed. So I want this to finish first, and then I'll do the reboot. While that's doing that, let me just quickly check on a couple of things. So yeah, the handoff has been written, so then that will be something that we can start straight away. We don't need this anymore. Yeah, we can accept that. Cool. So just waiting for this to finish. Let me see where we're at in terms of. We're good. This should be finished before we hit any kind of limits there as well. Written T, so this is the one that we're gonna kick off from, and then the bash -5 current that needs approval. Yes. The dirty tree guard correctly fired. It's catching the governance files copied in on tracked. That was the real truth. The governance files must be committed to the first deliberate override commit. Fine. Nearly there with this. And then we. all of this is all this is doing is adding our naming conventions and a few rules and commands and the logic that we've agreed to the global Claude hooks folder, and then we've got the slice branch.py, which is obviously the Python script that's running the Python command that's basically running the git tree naming conventions, as well as the logic to actually drive which branch we're in, load in the right branch, and routing things correctly that way. Kind of explain what's going on here. Just to give a bit of context as well, I think a lot of influencers, and when you watch kind of Claude courses or any sort of like courses that are showcasing how to use AI to build systems and things like that, they make it look so glamorous, like prompt what you want the tool to build, and it would just get on with it and do it for you. But yeah, it really isn't the case, because as I said at the start of this stream, you can do things that way, but the number of people that I know that build in that manner, none of them have actually shipped anything that's meaningful, in the sense of like, you know, commercially viable. A commercially viable product that they can update, a commercially viable product that they can add features to and things like that. It always breaks down the moment that they try and add a new feature. It always breaks down, 6 months later when, you know, there's a new model around that's a lot smarter, that's, you know, it debugs even better and things like that. You end up just kind of picking holes of what you built 6 months ago, just from that alone, you know. So I'm just trying to do things in a really methodical way, try and ring fence and add security best practices as where possible, really build things in a structure that I can understand. So I've got quite a lot of visibility and quite a lot of hands-on kind of like curating, because I don't want to call it coding, because I'm not really having to write. I haven't had to write a line of code in days, but in terms of just having oversight of exactly where it's putting everything, in terms of making decisions and being there at every single decision fork, it takes longer, but you leave and have a product in front of you that you've essentially built from the ground up, brick by brick. Yes, I'm not getting my hands dirty in code, which is fantastic, but like we can't take it for granted. Like, you know what I mean? In, let's say 10 years ago, back when I was what was I doing 10 years ago? I was quite heavy in the traffic and copy community. So that was it sounds outrageous, but it's basically growth hacking online. So let's say, for example, you're a business, you're a startup, you've got a new Instagram account, or do you know what I mean? Like, it could be any kind of like social media. You're a business that you want to kind of grow your presence online. So instead of just applying the whole, like, you know, SEO and things like that, there were quite a lot of like black hat methodologies to kind of growing online. So before things like ManyChat came out, we used to have Insta PY. We used to have something called Mass Planner, which was essentially like a tool that you can use, build it with Python, and then you'd feed it all of these words that are kind of like semantically driven, and then you can kind of basically spam comments. You could spam the whole follow and unfollow. You could spam inboxing someone as soon as they follow you, go upload photos and things like that. So it's kind of like the early days of Instagram automation. And obviously people in other nations took that and run with it. And you know what I mean? You can then have marketplaces where you can go and buy likes for X amount of money. But me and a very good friend of mine that went uni with, we used to sell these services to businesses. Do you know what I mean? So if you wanted to grow online and grow your Instagram, pay us a couple of £100 a month or whatever else, and we'll automate your whole follow and unfollow. Will grow your account organically with real people. But obviously it wasn't organic. It was very like manufactured activity. And then Instagram's algorithms quickly picked up on this and locked down a lot of these practices. But back in those days, you still had to kind of like write quite a lot of like the Python scripts. You had to go into different forums, go into different Git repositories and pick at lines of code and really understand them. So we've come a long way from that, and I don't take this for granted in terms of not having to write the code. But I've got such an interest in terms of how I'm actually structuring everything, how I'm actually organizing where the logic lives, where to combine certain bits of logic. Like let's say, for example, in this application, the ingest logic sits away from the similarity logic when the the conversation's actually going into those nodes. And this is something that the AI agent recommended combining them. But I was like, I'd rather have it separate, so that if I do want to change how we're defining similarity, I know exactly where to look for it. It's in a specific Python script in a specific place, and it's separate from all of the other logic. And that's just the way that I wanted to structure it, just so that contextually finding it, I know where it lives. I'll always remember where it lives, and I can point it to the right place. So for me, doing it this way works for me. It takes slightly longer, but I know where I've come from in terms of having to write a lot of this myself. Being able to do it this way, yes, it takes the stress of having to write and debug and all of this out of it. But it doesn't mean that I have to kind of like lose the love of actually building things from the ground up. I'm just seeing it as I'm kind of like the technical lead here, and I'm orchestrating things how I want it, kind of how I want them to behave, how I want the developers to actually do what they're doing, and things of that nature, how we're actually structuring this, how we're ring fencing, just managing and orchestrating it in that way. And it's therapeutic in its own way, and I don't think I'm gonna change my approach, because it means that I can really apply best practice and steer the artificial intelligence. So here's a feedback. Cool. Are we ready? Cool. The harness caught 2 real bugs. I fixed the slice state. Must be get ignored. Blocks. Checked actions. Cool. So then after this, I'm actually gonna run the diagnose tool, just to kind of verify and check its work, but shouldn't need to. And in fact, I really do need to actually close down Cursor and restart it, just so that the changes that I'm waiting to take effect can take effect. Because I hate having to sit here and watch this. I don't really want to sit here and watch this doing its thing, one agent at a time, one task at a time, one line of code at a time. It is built for multitasking, and that's kind of what we want it to do. okay, so everything is in place and verified, and the live gate is green. The last step is the one policy sensitive action. Landing the governance onto the master, the infra has to reach the trunk so that every future slice branches off the governed master. Start 5. Or start 5 needs a clean tree. Since my standing rule is to commit only when you ask me to, yeah. And to branch off the default by default. This is your call. So yeah, so how should I land? Okay, so bootstrap, bootstrap, commit to the master, and then start 5. Okay, cool. So what we'll actually do, leave the verified files in the working tree, you commit and install it and start 5 yourself. Okay, cool. So set up everything except the master commit. No, so actually I wanted to do something differently. I wanted to commit the governance files to the master trunk and run the install hooks need slice state off the master, start 5 off master, local reversible git reset. Okay, cool. So I want bootstrap commit. So I want to actually select other here because I want it to do everything but start 5. So option 1, bootstrap commit to master, but don't start 5 as I need to restart Cursor. Cool. Just so that it gets everything that it needs to done. Because the one thing I hate doing sometimes is restarting something and then I lose my trail of thought. And even though it's only a second, but I'd rather just kind of just do everything that I need to do cleanly, so that once I do restart, I've got all the hooks that I need to register. I've got everything else that I need to do, and then yeah. Cool. So everything is committing. This shouldn't take long. The seconds really. Brilliant. Okay. Right, so as that's doing its thing, I'm actually now gonna cool. So it's finished everything, and now I'm just restarting Cursor. Waiting for this to, just waiting for this to fire up. So next step now, I just need to wait for all of these sessions to kick in. But while that's happening, I'm just going to quickly fire up. I'm going to fire up Claude Code and trigger all of the hooks that I need to trigger. I don't know, for some reason, or I just realized I've just been silent for a while. For some reason, my sessions aren't open. testable. All right. Something seems to be happening. Oh. Looks like Claude's having a meltdown. So close everything down and give it a moment to do its thing. Everything seems to have crashed now. Right. Trigger. I'm gonna have to just trigger things from within the time. Literally, like everything within Claude, every single module, every single component isn't. Sorry, not Claude and Cursor isn't working. Have I got any updates to you? See if as admin to just run it as admin. Try that. Okay, that looks slightly better. And this is extremely extremely frustrating because literally nothing is loading at the moment. Check. Yeah. Hold on, its own is working. So yeah. It might just be I'm not even sure whether the stream is still live or not. Flagging that OBS is disconnected. OBS Studios. Hopefully you guys can, yeah, hopefully it's not affected my stream. I'm really not sure what's happening. I might need to jump off this stream and then sort this out, and then yeah, I'm gonna just jump off the stream, sort out my cursor, and then trigger a new session because I'm not really sure what's happened here. But all of my, yeah, I think there's an update due and everything is blocked up. Such is life. Right, cool. So I'm gonna trigger a new stream in a bit because I'm not even sure if this is still streaming, whether it's still live or not. So I'm gonna sort out my cursor and then restart this stream once everything is working. But before I take that, kind of check. So cool. So I've ended up using Claude, ironically, to fix the cursor. It looks like there's a corrupted database that's nearly a gig in size that's just fallen over. So the global state is abnormal. It's bolted with SQLite and can't open. Throwing off a fatal startup exception. So the fix, cool. So the fix is standard and reversible. It's fully closed cursor. Set the corrupt global state database aside, and I'll rename it, not delete it. So it's recoverable and let it regenerate a fresh one. Next launch, and then cool. So I'm hoping, I am hoping that whatever's in this cursor database that was nearly a gig in size isn't all of my changes and my local repos and whatnot. So it shouldn't be my repository, so obviously they're all saved down to Windows folders and things like that, but I'm just really curious to know what was in that. So okay, cool. So your your settings, keyboard bindings, extensions, and per project history were not touched. Those live in separate files, which is fine. You may lose some of the global UI settings and recent folders and things like that, which is okay. I can open those if everything looks good. Okay, cool. So let's see what it's looking like. I'm gonna have to like log in to Cursor from scratch. What the heck? Okay, so I just want to see the extent of the damage here. Profile being a gig. Let me actually check what. Plugin gives you any skip. Not that I need a tutorial at the moment. I just want this thing to be working. This is really gonna annoy me. That's what the damage is. And I was still stuck on this loading screen. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Just gonna quickly set myself to BRB, and then yeah, I should see you guys shortly once I've got this kind of fixed. Or is it better to start a new stream? I'll set it to BRB. I can't really be bothered with the faff. Nah, I'll end the stream. I'll end the stream.